Welcome to the Pilot's Inner Circle on Flight Training Radio, where a good pilot is always learning. Now, here's your host and certified flight instructor extraordinaire, Jason Schappert.
Hey everybody, Jason Schappert here of M0A.com, and welcome to Flight Training Radio, a part of the Pilot's Inner Circle, where you guys can learn more at pilotsinnercircle.com. Today is a 110% live show. Any questions you guys have, you can hit me up. 877-537-6704 on Facebook or Twitter. I have both those feeds open right now. You may be asking yourself, what the heck is the Pilot's Inner Circle? The Pilot's Inner Circle is the place to be for budding pilots and even those of you beyond the private or even instrument pilot certificate. Just by listening to this very radio show / podcast, which you're listening to right now, you can earn FAA Wings credit, sort of like CEUs towards renewing your pilot certificate every 24 calendar months rather than doing that biannual flight review. So something you guys can check that out there. This is the free portion of the podcast. Later on, we will endeavor into the members-only portion of that. And if that's something you guys think you'd like to join, you can go ahead and check out pilotsinnercircle.com to become a member today. So anyways, any questions you guys have, again, that number is 877-537-6704. Or like I said, I do have Facebook and Twitter open as well. And real quick, before we get started, just a friendly reminder, there unfortunately will be no show. Well, there will be no live show next week. I'll do a recorded show for the Pilot's Inner Circle members, but there will be no open show. Why will there not be any open show? Well, because I and several other M0A.com fans, friends, and other great pilots will be sailing the Caribbean on the Aviation Seminar at Sea, sponsored and put on by M0A.com. So we will be going to Coco Cay in the Bahamas, St. Thomas, St. Martin, going to Airport Beach on St. Martin, so you know some good photos will come out of that, and a bunch of great seminars on our days at sea, just really educational. You can walk on the boat, needing a flight review, and walk off the boat with enough wings credits or enough CEUs to have renewed your certificate. So really neat stuff there. That's the Aviation Seminar at Sea. Probably not too late to get yourself a cabin. If you really still want to go, it's less than a week away, though. We set sail on December 2nd. So that is where I will be next week. Hope to see a lot of you there. Excited to see a lot of you guys. They're like, it's been emailing me with your questions and everything. So excited to see a lot of you guys on the cruise. Anyway, my point for today is this, and this is something I've talked about before, but some new information. And the topic is 3 things your flight instructor might not have told you or didn't tell you in some cases. Everyone always asks me, how did you learn to become a flight instructor? I learned to be a flight instructor by, unfortunately, in my past, having some bummer flight instructors. And trust me, I had a lot of them. I mean, for my commercial rating, I believe I almost had, I have to go back to my logbook, almost double digits, 10 or 11 different instructors for a commercial pilot certificate. You want to talk about really putting a damper on your training. It's going through instructors. And then that's not their fault. That's back when the airlines were hiring anybody with a heartbeat, and they were all just leaving. That's just what happened. But I learned a lot by having some not-so-hot instructors, and I had some wonderful flight instructors. So what I want to share with you guys is 3 things your flight instructors simply just might not have told you. And again, if you guys have anything additional you want to really chime in, I'm happy to help you guys with anything you have. Any flight training questions, that number one more time is 877-537-6704. We can get you on the air, also on Facebook and Twitter. I'll be checking those feeds here momentarily. But anyways, really the first thing in my big three of things your flight instructor may not have told you is this. And these aren't in order of importance. These are they're just there. The first thing is this. The groundwork and the written test can and will, most of the time, hold you back. What do I mean by this? I make all my students, and you know what? Initially, a lot of them think I'm crazy. I make students now come to me with the groundwork and the written test done. I'm no longer, even before that, I didn't let students solo until they had the written test done. Why is this? Well, first off, I fell into this situation. I could fly the snot out of that airplane. You could ask me to do anything with it. I was one with the airplane. But ask me what kind of airspace that was, or how to communicate with that individual, or what were my required VFR day instruments. I had no clue. I couldn't tell you. All I knew is I could fly the heck out of that airplane. I didn't have that ground knowledge. So when it came time, and my instructor said, Jason, you've got the skills to pass the check ride, meaning you've got the flying skills to pass the check ride, but you'll never make it through the oral exam because you haven't finished your written test, obviously, and you haven't done a lick of groundwork. And that's, again, we learn from people's mistakes. I wish someone would have grabbed me and shook me and said, Jason, sure, you can go take a lesson or two, make sure flying something you really like. But once you realize it's something you really like and something you really want to do and you've been bitten by the bug, take a month and just cram and knock out all that groundwork. And take a few weeks and study your hardest and pass that written test with a high score, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show too. That's what I wish someone would have told me. And that's what I'm going to share with you guys. Finish that groundwork as soon as possible and have that written test done. Again, I have potential students come to me all the time. Jason, hey, what does it take to start flying with you? And what it really takes to start flying with me is for you to have the groundwork and come to me with a passing written test in your hand done. And then we can start our flight lessons. I especially do this with my instrument guys because instrument flying is 80 to 90% groundwork. You already know how to fly the airplane. You can learn so much just on the ground, hitting a ground school, hitting up some of your books, maybe doing a PCAD, like a flight simulator on the ground, learning your approaches before we go and apply this stuff to the air. The airplane is a terrible classroom. The airplane is an expensive classroom. Learn everything you can on the ground. I know you guys have heard me, beat that to death. I say that so much. Learn everything you can on the ground, but I wouldn't be so passionate about it if it wasn't true. Just know that the groundwork and the written test can and will hold you back, and I can guarantee there's some of you listening to this going, yep, I was ready for my check ride, but I didn't have the written test done. I'd be willing to bet that happens to 75% of private pilot applicants nowadays. They're ready for their check ride. They're ready to advance to the next thing, but what? They haven't done their written test yet. That written test will be the monkey on your back. Get it done, and get it done with a high score, because that's my second thing I want to share with you. The second thing is the score you get on your written can affect your check ride. What does that even mean? The score you get, unfortunately a 70 they deem as passing. A 70 is passing. 70 and above is passing on your written test. However, what I mean is go ahead and get a 70 on your private pilot written test and go to any FAA examiner and march into he or she and, hey, Mr. or Miss Examiner, I'm here for my private pilot check ride. Everything's good to go. Here's my written test. They're going to look and they're going to see a 70 on there. And they're going to say, wait a second. I know you're ready for your check ride. You meet all the FAA requirements, but you got a 70. And the thing about it is these examiners aren't dumb. They didn't get to where they are, by being silly. On that written test that you have to show them, it displays every single subject code that you got incorrectly. So a savvy DPE can look that up, or I bet you most DPEs have seen so many of them, they just already know. They're going to know that, hey, John Smith struggled in the areas of cross-country flight planning. You know, Betty didn't do so great when it came time to study aeromedical stuff for the written test. They're going to look at these subject codes and they're going to know exactly where to start poking and prodding you on your oral exam. That gives them so much information. Now let's turn the tables. And this has happened to me on numerous occasions. Both my physical students and certainly my online ground school students has happened. You guys have heard a lot of these stories. Now imagine walking into your check ride with a passing grade, or let alone, like I was referring to earlier, 100%. Maybe you guys who are following M0A for quite some time now have heard the story of Matt Dolan, who passed his private pilot check ride in 40 hours exactly, 40.0 hours. I just had a student last month do that as well. His 40th hour was flying down to take his check ride. Both passing the written tests with 100%. Now imagine walking, and these people aren't any prodigies. They did exactly what we said. They did their groundwork first, and they did the written test first, so they were focused on the ground. Once you're focused on the ground, and that's off your back, then you can focus on your flying. So these individuals now walked into their check ride with 100%. Imagine just flapping down 100% written test in front of your check ride examiner. He or she's going to look at that and go, wow, this is going to be an easy day for me. This person really knows their stuff. You know what? Both those check rides were very easy. They passed with flying colors. In fact, when I went down with my one student, I was sitting in a little office area just doing some work on the computer, and the designated examiner comes in, what I thought, about 30 minutes early, going, hey, we're all done. We're doing paperwork now. Thinking, usually when a student gets done with a check ride early, it's not very good. In this case, they just knocked everything out so proficiently and so well, they were just done. And again, anytime you see a student taxi in early from a check ride, by early I mean less than an hour, it's not a good sign. In this case, it was the first time it was. But you need to understand that the score you get on that written, although the FAA will tell you all they want, that it doesn't matter. A pass is a pass. There's still going to be some bias in that examiner and some areas they can poke and prod now that they know where to get you on that oral exam just by knowing those subject codes. So let's step back now. Let's say you're in a different spot. Jason, I already took my written. I only got a 78 on it. You know, I know that's not great, but I've been really studying up. What you can really study up on is at the bottom of the written. Go figure out what all those subject codes mean. It's like AH360. You know, go Google that and figure out what that means. And it's going to say, oh, that's the intro to aeromedical factors. And then cram on your aeromedical factors. Learn all this stuff. You know what you're going to be asked just by what you got incorrectly on that written test. So focus on that sort of stuff. Okay? So, and the third thing, and really the final thing, is this. I'm going to grab a drink of water here really quick. I'm sorry, I had some stuff coming in here. So the third thing and the final thing is this. The POH and the FAR aim will be the most used books, not only on your check ride, but beyond. As Buzz Lightyear once said, to your check ride and beyond. Your POH and your FAR aim. Everybody always asks me, what do I study? What do I need to know? Well, your POH and your FAR aim are your two most valuable books in that regard, especially beyond the check ride. I mean, there's a reason our book, and not to give a shameless plug here, but there's a reason our book, The FAR Aim in Plain, is a bestseller. I mean, it's just that simple. You need to know the FAR aim. Yes, the FAR aim is a very tough book. It's all in a bunch of government speak. So go grab a copy of the FAR aim in plain English. It's only going to tell you what you need to know for your private pilot certificate. You'll have that stuff covered. You need to have a copy of your POH. If you can't get one from the airport, You need to jump online on Amazon, on eBay or something and find yourself a POH for a 1975 150 mic or whatever kind of airplane you're flying. That thing should have tabs, highlights, notes all over that thing, because you need to be the pilot in command. And it's hard to be the pilot in command when you don't even understand what aircraft you're in charge of. You need to know those V speeds. It's one thing to know that Vx is the speed at which to clear an obstacle, or Vy is your best rate of climb. It's one thing to know that. It's another thing to know that one's 55 and one's 67 knots or miles per hour, whatever you're configured in. Okay? You've got to have command of that. You need to know that your brakes are hydraulic. You need to know that your engine is normally aspirated and how that airplane works. That POH will tell you everything. It'll go over all your emergency procedures. And then from there, dive into the FAR aim. And something I'm going to talk about a little bit later with the members and the members-only portion of this podcast is that. What regulations do you need to have memorized? I've got it down to less than 10 regulations that you need to walk into your check ride just knowing cold. Everything from their number to what they say and what they mean to you. And they're really easy. I'm going to show you some great ways to memorize them, and I'll give that to the members here a little bit later. But some regulations you need to have memorized and just know those things stone cold. So the POH and the FAR aim, those are your most important books, not only for your check ride, but also beyond your check ride. Again, a private pilot license or whatever license you're going for is simply a license to learn. There is no other reason for getting it. Don't think you're going to become a pilot and just stop learning. Again, we've built an entire business around that mantra that a good pilot is always learning. You want to be a good pilot. You want to be a great pilot. You've got to keep learning. And what you're doing right now, if you took the time to listen to this, I already know you're a great pilot. It's just that simple. I mean, you're part of the elite 2% that is taking the time to further their aviation studies. Whether you're a pilot or studying to be a pilot, doesn't matter. You're already going above and beyond just by listening to this stuff alone. Okay, so just a quick recap. Again, 3 things your flight instructor just simply might not have told you. And the first was groundwork and the written test can and will hold you back. That written test can be the monkey on your back and hold you back. Again, I went out on a limb saying I bet 75% of students are ready for their check rides, but don't have their written test done. And they can't take their check ride without their written test. Knock out that groundwork. Again, we've got the online ground school. Again, I don't mean to keep plugging stuff here, but check out our online ground school. Become a Pilots Inner Circle member. All this sort of stuff is going to help you stay committed in the community, in the online ground school community that is, and further yourself as a pilot. It's just that simple. Knock that written test out. We have great written test prep software and programs inside of all that to help you prep for that. The second thing is the score on the written can and simply will affect your check ride. There would be 2 completely different check rides if I showed up with a 70 on my written and I showed up with a 100 on my written. They would be 2 different check rides. One would probably last about 45 minutes to an hour longer than the other. And you know what I'm talking about. Study for that written. And you know what? Maybe you already taken that written and you've got kind of a bummer score or just an average score, we'll call it. You've got those subject codes there. Go figure out what those subject codes mean and master those subject codes. Don't let those be the thing that holds you back, because you know that's where they're going to go and those are the questions they're going to ask. And the third thing was the POH and the FAR aim will be your most used books for your check ride and beyond. To be the pilot in command, you've got to master your airplane. You can only do that by knowing that POH, owning that POH, and having it memorized inside and out. A POH is not that big of a book. You know what? And if you are that into aviation, it's a fun book to learn so much about your airplane. And the FAR aim is the second most important book you'll have. Okay, by the way, I've shared this with you guys before, especially with my members. Don't show up to your check ride with the FAR aim still in the shrink wrap, please. If anything, I've had students do this very early on in my flight instructor career. I've had students show up to their check ride and the FAR aim, and they're just busting out of the package like it just came in the mail yesterday. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Can we tie that thing to the back of your truck and just drive it down the ramp a little bit, or drag it behind the airplane to make it look like you halfway used it? I mean, my FAR aim, I should show you guys a picture, has tabs and highlights and just looks like it got drugged behind a truck because I'm always referencing it. Okay? And I know with the age of iPads and this sort of stuff, you can do all that, and that's fine. So anyways, and the FAR aim is, bugs you. Check out the FAR aim in plain English. Great reference for you there. So anyways, guys, again, I see I have a few things coming in via Twitter here. I haven't checked Facebook just yet. If you guys want to call in and chat live, anything flight training related, doesn't have to be related to what we're talking about today, the kind of ground written test stuff. If you've got a problem with steep turns, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're struggling with in your flight training or questions or even comments you guys have, if you just want to call in to say hi, that number is 877-537-6704, 877-537-6704. You guys can go ahead and call in. We'll get you on the line so we can chit-chat there. Also, maybe you don't want to call in or you're at the office and can't call in right now. Hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/MZEROA. Twitter, same thing, hashtag. I'm trying to sound cool, using things like hashtag. I am just MZEROA, M0A on Twitter, so you guys can find me there. Anyways, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. That number, once again, to call in, 877-537-6704. Quick commercial break. We'll be right back to answer your questions. See you guys in a bit. Are you prepared for an engine failure on takeoff? What if there was runway remaining? What if there isn't? Would you know what to do if you lost radio communications in IFR conditions? My newest book, In-Flight Emergencies, a step-by-step guide to handling the unexpected, will cover all of this and more. Readers learn about a topic such as engine failures on takeoff. Then at the end of the chapter, there's a URL where they can go and watch a video of an actual engine failure on takeoff and see how the pilot applied the skills mentioned in the book. We're adding videos you love to the books you need, because a good pilot is always learning. Check out the book at inflightemergencies.com.
Hey there, quick question. What would you do if you lost your logbook? Imagine having to go back in time to track down all of those hours, dates, aircraft flown, and airports landed at. It's near impossible. Trust me, I've done it. Welcome to Runway Log, the best online pilot logbook that lets you log flights on your iPhone, iPad, or Android device. Attach photos to certain entries and see where you've been with our interactive map. Best of all, it's backed up every hour and fully exportable to CSV or PDF. Runway Log has your back. It even sends reminders when your flight review is due. Don't wait another second. Start your free trial of Runway Log today. Visit runwaylog.com.
The Pilot's Inner Circle is more than just a ground school. It's a community.
And I want to thank you for all that you're doing. You're going to grow this show. You're going to be the most popular and best instructor in the nation because you focus on people and learning. You're sincere, you have integrity, and you have character. And your wife is a great gal, too.
Members get a chance to interact with me and others each and every week live in the radio shows like the one you're listening to now, or every Monday evening in the mock check rides and weekly workshop webinars that we do.
Jason really does a wonderful job teaching his students all the basics you're going to need to help pass your written test as well as your practical test. Once you're a member, the online seminars every week. This is really a big key as far as my training was concerned, because there's those nagging questions, exactly what does this do, what does that do?
With a 100% pass rate and over 1,000 check rides passed, what's not to love about the Pilot's Inner Circle? Members also get FAA Wings credit for listening to this very radio show you're listening to now, in addition to the extended version. So what's not to love? Visit pilotsinnercircle.com to become a member today. Alrighty, guys. Jason, I'm back with you here. Just getting a few little things sorted here, trying to get everything squared away. Again, any questions you have, 877-537-6704. We will get you on the line and get chit-chatting with you that way. Let's see. Let me just double-check my feeds here one more time to go through. On Twitter, by the way, Andy, who is a flight instructor, chimed in on Twitter and brought up a great point. He always tells his students to study the PTS, your practical test standards. The PTS, like he said, holds the examiner accountable. And he said this too, there can be some kind of stickler designated pilot examiner, some DPEs out there sometimes. You know what? We all run into them. It is simply just a fact of life sometime. But the PTS does hold that DPE accountable because you know exactly what you are going to be asked on that check ride. Everything is laid out for you. And again, the PTS is such a tiny book. It's very, very easy for you to go over. It covers all your ratings. So it's nice to just have a few pages of the private pilot. And by the way, know too that if you have an old PTS, your private pilot, really all your practical test standards, especially though for private and commercial pilot, has changed. So be willing to look at that and make sure you have a current and up-to-date PTS on that note. So, Andy, appreciate that. By the way, Andy, let's plan on connecting maybe a little bit later this week. Shoot me an email. I'd love to chat with you a little bit. I always love talking to other flight instructors, seeing what they're up to and everything. So be sure to reach out and send me an email. It's jason@m0a.com, the number 0a.com, and we'll chit-chat a little bit. Steve said he couldn't be here today for the show, but we'll check it when we post it. He's asking if recordings are available for non-members. Absolutely, they are available for non-members, Steve, so don't you worry about that. They're available on iTunes. Also, I post them up on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out as well, if that's easier for you. Let's see, reading a comment. Give me a second here. Reading a comment from Larry. Every check ride he has had a student been on. Says first thing is to check the written test score, and he already knows about tabbing out that FAR aim, and also uses my book, Pass Your Private Pilot Check Ride for Flight Review. Easy way to ask questions and kind of quiz his students. It's a sort of flight review checklist for him. So good stuff there. So anyways, Larry, I appreciate that comment and appreciate the plug on the book. Again, Pass Your Private Pilot Check Ride is all your examiner's favorite test prep questions. So you guys can check that out. So anyways, let me just make sure we don't have any other questions. I don't believe so. Let me just refresh my Twitter feed real quick here and refresh my Facebook feed so I'm not leaving anybody hanging. There was one on the line, but they're no longer there anymore. Sorry. Dan asked if these are safe for future reference. He's in school and can't listen to it live where he's at. Absolutely, just like what I was telling Steve earlier, Dan, everything will be recorded, and I'll hit up both Dan and Steve so you guys can get back with that. So anyways, guys, again, there will be no live show next week. No live show next week. I will probably do just a recorded show for the members only. And again, why is that? Because I will be cruising the Caribbean on the aviation seminar at sea with a lot of you guys, which I'm excited about. If that's something you would like, you can check out aviationseminaratsea.com. Still not too late to sign up. For those of you that are renegades and want to do a week-long cruise at the last minute, you're more than welcome to come along. But other than that, we'll be planning the same thing around this time next year, something you can start to save for, or simply start making payments on now if that's something you're interested in. So anyways, guys, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for all you guys do. You guys don't understand what a huge blessing you all are to myself, my beautiful wife, and our wonderful business. Again, you guys really are the reason we get up so early, stay up so late, and do the things we do. Members, remember tonight is our monthly mock check ride webinar. Do not miss it. I ask the questions, you provide your best answers, and we work to formulate those answers to help you pass that check ride. Again, one of my favorite things to do, I play the role of designated pilot examiner, you play the role of student, and we work to simulate that check ride the best we can to help you pass it with flying colors. So you're not going to miss that. It's tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. my time. That's members only. If you want to become a member, that sounds like something you're into, pilotsinnercircle.com. We'll take you there to learn more about membership, see if it's right for you. So anyways, guys, thank you for all you do. And most importantly, remember that a good pilot is always learning. Have a great day, guys. See ya.